So if you don't know us, Kalon, I'm Harry. We're from New Zealand, and it's our task to update you on these wonderful machines here. So if the guy's on the phone to you and he's like a good distance away, just ask him the basic questions. Or when you're setting one off, really start at the beginning and work your way back. Like we actually had it with this machine when I came Thursday. Like, it's all been got ready for you, and I started it up and everything's slow and jerky and not calibrating. And we plumbed up here for load sensing, so we've got our feed, a sense line and a return. Alright, the one thing that they hadn't done, we've got a valve up in the valve block here that is screwed in, so when you use load sensing, and you screw it out when you go open centre. So this machine, say, was just all over the shop and all it wanted was the valve screwing in. So keep it basic. I don't overthink too much. If that's all looking good and you've got an issue, quick and simple, disconnect your sensing line, plug your feed line into a spool, screw the tap out. Does your problem with your baler go away? If so, you've got a load sensing issue on this tractor. That happens quite a lot. Right? People think load sensing doesn't go wrong. Load sensing does go wrong. Alright, so eliminate it before you guys go running out all over the place. Right, power wise, we're feeding through Isobus, so we have got pretty good power. If you're using the baler monitor and you're feeding through the Euro plug, the D plug, preferably go direct to the battery so we get good clean power. Yeah. Everything else is feeding through the loom, get your aircon on, your lights at night, just drawing more power, so we can start getting little electrical issues when we dip in power. So using the baler monitor, try and go direct to the battery. A lot more critical on this as it is with a standalone baler, but direct to the battery, Isobus will be pretty good. So like I say, we're in Isobus now, so hopefully we won't get the hiccups. So, drive coming up via voltage shaft. We've got an auto reset clutch going onto the power split gearbox. This power split gearbox is a minimum 540. Right? It's not a 540 box, it's a minimum 540 box. So you want to be running it around about 590, 600. Not too bad here, it's almost like Holland, nice and flat, but as soon as you start running up banks and that type of thing, we need just that spare bit of power for the spare bit of revolutions for the hills. So if you're running smack on 540, you start up a big bank, just as density's coming on, the tractor will just drop. Having them few more revs in there keeps her up and alive. So we can get 1,000 as an option, but the majority of what we sell is 540.
What's the benefit of 1,000 over 540?
I've never seen a benefit of 1,000. We sell very few.
Yeah.
This one's actually running 540E.
Is the 1,000 box a minimum 1,000? Like,
yeah, 5,000 box is 1,000.
Yeah.
Flat. Yeah. But this is like a minimum 540. Yeah. Reason for the auto reset: we're baling away, big lump of grass goes in, blocks under the rotor, and stalls the baler. At that, auto reset clutch throws out. So as soon as it does, kill the PTO. Select drop floor. So this is our Hydroflex floor. Select drop floor on the screen, operate the spool, and the floor will drop down. If you've got knives in, knives go out when the floor goes down. So when you bring it back up, you have to put the knives back in. But anyway, drop the floor down, go to about a third to a half of your PTO revs, and then re-engage the PTO. Most of the time, it'll start to move it on the first one, and the clutch will go, and then the second time, whoomp, away she'll go, straight up. So when it throws out, the whole baler stops. So you've still got, from the floor going up to the chamber, a mat of grass. So So when you lower the floor away, that grass is still sitting there. When you re-engage it and the bale starts to turn, it sucks grass up into the chamber. So it's not dumping it on the floor, she's taking it up. Once it's rotating again, close your floor. If you've got knives in, bring your knives back in, carry on baling. Right, when the bale stops, we can have up to a ton rotating in the chamber. That bale has still got momentum. Yeah, it's turning at about 1.5 meters a second in there. So rotating away, and all of a sudden all the drive stops, that ton still wants to keep moving. So what we've got here now is an overrun clutch. So when that clutch goes off and the bale is still turning, it takes the momentum out in this clutch. It just lets the bale come to a stop. Before we had that, the bale would keep turning, the chains would come round, keep tight on one side, go very slack on the other. When you re-engage the PTO, there's an alrighty bang, big strain on the chain, and lots of times that's the point you would break a chain. Since we've had the overrun clutch, chain breakage has all but disappeared.
Is it the same sort of scrag type wedge
Yeah.
as the 4160?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, all of them now, and even if you've got an older machine, that can go on it. We had a baler a couple of years ago that was a destruction baler. It had just got to be tried to be wrecked, and we did 25,000 bales with it before the guy bought his own baler, and the chains were not touched. Still going at 25,000 bales. Sabaki are really good make a chain. Right? You do in this instance get exactly what you pay for. All right, so always stick with them. There's a lot of torque going through these sprockets, and it's one reason we don't need to have like inch pitch chains everywhere, because of the quality of what we've got. Yeah. So Sabaki chains. Sabaki do a nice little plastic chain gauge now, where you can just stick it onto your chain, and it's 3% of stretch before your chain's knackered. 3% doesn't sound a lot, but when you're looking over meters of chain, like that meter of chain stretches right out. So we've got our main drive, and then we've got the front half of the chamber is driven, and then we split the drive off to drive the tailgate. So remember, we're dealing with a fixed chamber baler, so we've got 18 rollers, and like, I don't know best to describe it, conical or snail shell or whatever, but it's not a perfect round chamber. If it was perfectly round, you get bale slippage. You're getting some dry crop, the rollers will slip to the material in the bale. All right, so our chamber comes in at the front. So you almost think like a snail shell does this. That's the sort of curvature we've got of the chamber. So we've got an odd shaped bale in there, so we're keeping traction on it all the time. So 18 rollers. Here we're driving every alternate roller down the tailgate. This shaft goes through and comes out the other side, and there's a chain on the other side drives the other alternate rollers. Yeah. So as we're splitting power with a power split gearbox, we are also splitting power here, taking stress away from the chain. We only need 16B chain. Right. All of the drive side rollers are fitted with
50mm double race bearings.
You see, we've got this off to a
He's
fine
one
art
we
now. We're
prepared
going to take yeah. So this is a good item if you're going out to try and sell somebody one. Grab a bearing out of spare parts. Give them something touchy-feely in the hand. If you tell somebody it's got 50mm bearings, yeah, right. It's quite a substantial bearing. And if you go to the variable, that's in the OptiClean rollers. There's 3.5 ton of pressure when you're baling going uphill on the OptiClean rollers, and that's the bearing that's in there. And they don't fail in OptiClean. All right, so really, really good bearing. So all the drive side are the 50mm double race. The non-drive side are a 50mm normal single roller bearing. But the important thing with them is that if that's the outside of the bearing, when it goes into the housing, it is not tight. Alright, you should literally be able to grab the bearing and take it out of the housing. Reason being that all of the rollers are flexing all the time when you're baling. If there's no movement, that flex will go straight into the side wall of the chamber and you'll start cracking the chamber. If that roller can move, that's where the flex goes. Yeah? So the bearing is moving within the bearing housing. Alright? So if you've got people repeatedly doing bearings, that type of thing, normally they've done their own repairs and they've gone in there with a centre punch and locked tight and made that bearing tight. Alright, it should never be tight, it should always be moving. Right, one of your other questions is how do you load the net? You load the net by ELS, Easy Load System. So if we hadn't got a roll in there, we've got that ready, that's our spare roll. All we need to do is come here, tip that back, that roll rolls into there. That handle would be screwed out, we turn it in and we lift the roller net up into position. Important, the net feeds off the bottom of the roll, as it does with this one. There is a decal on the underside there that tells you. One of the biggest issues we get is people feeding off the top of the roll, not threading it right. When the net's going on, then it starts to flap about, pull in, do all sorts of stupid things. And our matey on the tractor sees, I've got a brake there, I'll go and tighten that brake up. Once he's pissed about with the brake, he's forever pissing about with the brake. Right? Major thing, like if you see him messing with the brake, get one of these nice bits of stick and give him a real good whack. Yeah? Once that's set, leave it set. There's normally another issue. It's either tension's incorrect there, or they've not threaded it right, there's something else. Those brakes get messed with far too much. So you'll see it on the other side, it's a simple disc brake. Another thing that we've got, which people don't realise, we can adjust where the roll sits when we load it. So you get people will buy 4,500 metre rolls or 3,000 metre different diameters. So if they've ran out of 4,000, they've gone to 3, alright, the 3 is going to sit a bit lower, so it won't pick up properly when you're loading it. We've got adjustment here, so we can lift the bottom bars up and down, so it makes life easy for them. If the net isn't going square onto the bale, we can move this cradle. There's only 4 bolts, left and right. We can get it going onto the bale really nice. And you'll see when this bale comes out, hopefully, as long as Calum does a good job, we've got a nice good spread of net right across the surface. The other thing that we can now get on the fixed chamber combis is film on film unit. So instead of putting net on, we can put plastic on. You have a carousel that can carry 3 rolls. So it can be 3 rolls of plastic, 3 rolls of net, 2 rolls of plastic, 1 a net, whatever combination you want. Only benefit of putting plastic on a bale is you have one material to recycle. Quality of bale is no different. Yeah, we did testing, well, quite a few years ago now, where they were putting 4 layers of plastic on a McHale, and we went in with one of these and put 4 layers of net on. The guy kept the bales. There was a goat farm. 6 months later he had them tested, exactly the same. So all of the stories about plastic makes better quality bales, it's not true. It's just they put that much plastic on, or you've got to put that much plastic on, that it holds the bale tight. And if it's tight, you don't get air in it. All right. So on the fixed chamber, we've got them running with film on film, so you've got a couple of arms, bring the film together for it to cut, and go out to let it go on. That carousel unit, you can actually now have as an option on the variable balers. So you could order that to go onto a variable. So the whole baler as well is got a sensor there for the net knife. We've got sensors all over it, monitoring it. If you should have one fail, it's just a short piece of cable and clip in and out. So you're not hard wiring it, it just clips into the main loom and away it goes. But we'll just say that was to fail, net's gone on, it's actually cut, the tailgate won't open because it thinks it's still, the knife's still at it. Yeah. So the machine is always self-monitoring. It won't let anything stupid happen to itself. Net, we've got a rubber drive roller and a steel drive roller. Important there that if it wraps up with net during a demo, you don't get your knife out and cut it, because you're just slashing up the rubber roller, and then you end up with like $1,000 bill for a new roller.
Even the steel one.
There's the steel ones, if you're not careful, you can tell. The steel roller's all right with this system, because you can pop the spring off and you can turn the roller. Yeah, it's quite easy to take the spring on and off. But the problem with the rubber is you've got that scraper underneath it with a felt, so you can't actually turn it very well. If you get in a craft knife, it's called a carpet blade. It's like that hook blade. So if you get one of them, you can get it under. You've got no sharp edge going to the rubber roller. You can just go along and you cut it off.
Even on the steel one, if they've got a sharp knife, you can mark it.
Oh, you can mark them up, yeah. 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 And like even like with that the lid down and everything, it can still fire stones in off the road and bits of tar and all sorts of crap going on there. Another issue you can get with your net wrap, and even with seasoned operators, you use this R-clip to hold the brake off when you're loading net. People leave the R-clip in, and the net's slack all the time. Or they'll park it up in the hole there, and the net arm can't go right back. So just take it off and clip it on the frame at the bottom like that. Alright, whilst we're here, rattle clutch for the pickup, grease nipple, 1 pump per season, no more. Minimal grease.
Safety tip for the door.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Quite important that if you're working in the chamber, you have that turned off. Otherwise, if that thing comes down on you, don't imagine it's going to be much fun.
If you pull the jack handle out, you've got a 2-speed jack. So you've got a fast wind or a slow wind. Yeah? So a lot of people will be crank, 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 and if they pull it out, it goes twice as fast.
Ah, that's right.
Exactly.
Hydraulic wise, oil comes down the pipes, and just about here on the chassis, on the inside, there's the tailgate lift valve. Then we've got the main hydraulic valve block for working the wrapper. Now, in the top section of that valve block are a series of valves, same valves as in the tailgate lift. So if you've got we'll just say the ring keeps dropping down and you're pretty sure it's not the seals, and the guy's a long way, you can get it just change 2 valves round. Right? If the problem moves to somewhere else, you know what you're doing. You're not looking for other stuff. So it's a bit of swap gnostics. Try and cure it. Oil comes back through a filter and back to the tractor.